Super excited to share with you another fantastic group of brand ambassadors, a sister duo from On Williams Street. That's right, everybody. It is interview time, and you're going to love our guests today at Making It Fun. Coming straight from On Williams Street, Missy and Kimie. Take it away, ladies. Oh, does the intro get any better than that or what? How are you two today?
We're doing great.
Fantastic. Okay, we're going to get all hot and ready and prepped out. So, do you want to take a minute and hide the bodies that you were telling me I wasn't supposed to ask about earlier?
Don't want you to see those.
Yeah, we'll cover them up.
No bodies. Okay, so awesome. Thank you very much for being here. And I'm a little caffeinated. You'll have to forgive me. I'm super excited to meet both of you, and I know everybody at home is as well. So will you please take a moment and introduce yourselves individually and tell us a brief, and then we're going to get into all the Q&A, but just a quick hello and who you are.
Okay, so I'll start. I'm Missy. So I am the oldest of 6 girls. So we have a very crazy household growing up. Kimie is number 4. Number 4. She's number 4 of the girls. So we have always grown up with a very crafty mom. She is a painter and she has always sewn. We grew up with matching Christmas dresses every year.
Puffy, big.
Yes. Think 80s and 90s puffy Christmas dresses.
Puff sleeves and all, huh?
All of it.
Oh my goodness. I had one evening gown that was hot pink ruffle sleeves.
Very nice.
Of course. Yes. So we love to craft. We love to sew. We really started getting into actual quilting though, probably early 20s.
Yeah.
So the quilting came a little bit later, everything else came earlier, but it's like those first couple of quilts and we fell in love.
And now we don't do anything else. We just do the quilting. No other sewing.
So you just gave us so much information. I got to break a couple of these questions down just for some follow-up. So first of all, 6 girls, any boys in the sibling lineup or just 6 children, all female?
Yes.
Yikes, that's a lot of matching ruffled Christmas dresses. And then I did read, and we have a wonderful blog at makingitfunblogspot.com where you can read about the ladies and our other brand ambassadors as well. But I had read about their mother was very inspiring in getting them into crafting, so I'm glad you touched on that. But there was another big thing that you kind of said at the end, which is, and now all you do is make quilts. So are you both technically professional quilt makers, or do you have a day jobs as well?
So my day job is raising 4 children. I have been blessed to, for the most part, be able to be a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool them and then do the quilting on the end. Missy does have a day job currently, but the hope is that will not be for a whole lot ever. Yeah, a few more years hopefully, and then we'll have changed that.
Yes.
Right. So what do you gals really specialize in our textile world? Like what is one of the number one things folks would come to On Williams Street for looking for?
So we are definitely modern quilters. No grandma's quilts here. We love bright colors. We have a lot of negative space. So one of the things that we've really started to do is we have one element quilts. It's usually broken down, but it's not like the same repeating block over and over. We do have some of those designs, but the thing that we're really drawn to are ones where it's like the whole quilt is the design. It's not like, you know what I mean? Not one block over and over, but like one big element. And they're really, fairly simple, very, graphic design based.
Lots of geometric.
Lots of geometric shapes. But make a statement. They're bold, they're big, bold, modern.
Right. But you ladies are selling patterns for these projects, correct?
Yes.
Is it challenging to create patterns for projects that are not just repetitive, the same block over and over and over again? How is that as a pattern designers?
Yeah, no, it really isn't. So, because really it's like those little individual blocks, you're still having to break that down to create the individual block. So instead, we're just breaking down the entire quilt and putting it together in pieces and then sewing it together to finish off the quilt. So I don't think it's any, to me, because I write the patterns. So I do all of the pattern writing, but I haven't seen any difference between the ones that are a full quilt, one big bold statement, versus the few that we do have that are multiple, the same block over and over. Because we do have a few of those, but I don't see any difference in them.
As long as you aren't afraid of taping templates together.
Yes.
Unfortunately, when you have a full, because we do not wall size, we still make them full throw, twin size quilts. So as long, some of our pieces can be rather large. So as long as you aren't shy from taping, papers together to make some of those larger templates. And it's fun because you can actually, some of them go a lot faster because you're not making, 50 smaller blocks. You're making one great big element, and they can actually go a lot faster, and you can have quilts done in a weekend.
Yeah, we've recently really got into curves a lot more. And the larger the curve, the easier it is to sew. So it's like people that have never done curves, come sew one of our giant ones, and it's like super easy. And then you can work your way down to, we do have one quilt that's called Windswept that does have some 2-inch curves in it, but you got to start with the big ones first and work your way down.
Yeah.
Well, I just try to make most of my straight lines kind of a big gradual curve. I think that's a great place to start my practice.
Yeah, definitely. They don't have to worry about whether it's cut straight either.
Right, and then that'll quilt out most of the time. You just kind of a little force here and a little pinning and water over there, and you're just fine, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, I am an advocate of pins and stretching to make it work.
Right. Oh my gosh. Wow, man. I said, I got a million different questions going through my head. But I'll try to stay focused on the quilts a little bit. So one of the quilts I saw that you ladies had posted was a big guitar, a Stratocaster, I think it might have been. Super cool quilt. And maybe we can get a picture of that. We'll put it in the video and show everybody. Oh, even better. Did I just segue accidentally?
This morning, I finished this up. This is one that Susan reached out to. We want this in this specific fabric. So it was literally done this morning. So.
What do you have? Oh, wow. Oh, and it's even bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's a throw size quilt.
So yep, this is hash dot. So it's all made with hash dots and cotton coutures.
And cotton coutures. Wow. So a couple of the Michael Miller basics. That is fantastic. Oh, I didn't even know you gals were working on that. That is lovely. How did you pick the Stratocaster? I mean, this is an important question to me.
I'll take this. I don't know enough about guitars to know the difference. My husband plays, he messes around, he plays. My one of my sons had messed around and played a little bit, and I kind of pretended to play electric guitar like 20 years ago. It didn't stick. I tried. So it was just kind of like, I just want to do something fun and something big, and I was inspired by, all my music-loving family members, and so I just found a picture of what I envision as a electric guitar and just based the quilt pattern off of that. I later was told, oh, it's a bass because you don't have enough strings. All right, it's a bass guitar now then.
I actually almost went back and checked right before we started the interview today because I was thinking the same thing. It looks a lot like the Jazzmaster bass from Ernie Ball, but that's kind of traditionally structured after the Fender Stratocaster because I happen to be a bit of a guitar freak myself. Not that I can play them. I own 11 of them and I'm looking for the 12th one, hoping that it will be the one that sounds good when my fingers touch it. Ongoing joke with some of my friends out there, but yeah. And my son, fortunately, he actually can really play the guitar and sing as well. So it's become a really wonderful thing to have around the house. So we have guitars. And so when I caught that quilt, I was excited, but that was for those folks that are following the interview but didn't quite know what I was getting at. Like a pattern like that, like you said, there's a lot of negative space, there's a lot of patchwork involved, but nothing is necessarily super repetitive. So my concern as a pattern writer is how do I explain it all to Lucy? Like how do I make it make sense? Where with a pattern like this, a lot of times you can break down a single block and then you can say, well, you're going to use colors A, B, and C, and then D, E, and F. And you can work through it that way in more of a chart style. But I love the fact that the modern movement, started as very freestyle but it was such a popular, such an intense and exciting, inspirational group of art that it started requiring more and more education. I think, when it first started, and I made a joke when I put out a book that I called it was the postmodern era. It was modern quilts, but had instructions. Because when the first modern quilts were starting, it was like, we're not talking about how we did this because there were no patterns. So to have you ladies creating modern patterns is really a blessing for the whole industry. And then when you see stuff that looks like that, you're like, boom, your mind blows and you're super excited. And so, wow, what a terrific one. But you got me distracted, jumped right into show and tell. Do we have more show and tell? I mean, what else have you gals been working on or creating? Tell me more about your design. 14 questions at you now.
All right. Yeah, so we did we have a few other projects, and these are the ones that we've been working on specifically with the Michael Miller fabrics that we've gotten this year. So this is the one that we just finished, and this was our first new original pattern for the year. And this was done with the Cocoa Basics, and we love all of the color, the color options, right? Like there's so many tones for each of the different colors. So this is our awestruck quilt.
I want to say that's even more impressive than when I saw it on social media. And I don't know if it's just because the way you're moving it right now, but it has even more 3-dimension to it.
It does. Yeah, and I think sometimes it's hard to capture in the pictures too. But yeah, it's like all of those different tones and really this is like randomly picked tones. So we just kind of pull from the stacks as we're putting it together. So no two blocks are the same. But you really...
I hadn't picked up on that yet.
The quilt with those colors just kind of all over the place.
Hey, do you ladies feel like teaching for another minute?
Like teaching?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, because look, here, excuse me, let me move my buddy Mike here. I have Coco right next to me. So Coco is 10 colors, 5 shades. So if I'm understanding what you were just saying, you were working within a shade grouping in each block, but you didn't put exactly color 1 in the exact same half square triangle each time. But you used the groupings to keep the bodies together, and that's why we're getting some of that 3-dimensional movement like we're seeing in there.
Yes, correct.
Exactly. So yeah, these 2 orange blocks.
What?
Is it solids in the background, or is that the gray of the...
Just 2 different, the white and then the light gray.
Very, very attractive. Very attractive. That's great.
And part of the thing that we've really loved about being a Michael Miller ambassador is we don't know what fabric we're going to get. And it might not necessarily be like what we are naturally drawn to, but it's fun to kind of have that challenge of how are we going to work with this and still make it be us.
It's like Christmas. Every box you get, it's Christmas morning.
So our next...
It might be from your crazy Aunt Edna, and you're not sure if she sent the Jell-O mold with the cat food in it or not,
So our next one is very modern quilt designers. We got our flower fairies, and this is totally not something we would normally get, but it was so much fun to be able to take it and put it into our pattern and show that how versatile the different looks can be, and it can create something really fun. So this is crackle, and so it has these nice big pieces. And when we saw the fairies, we're like, we can't cut those up into little tiny pieces, right? We're going to behead every single fairy. Big and bold and fun, and it just worked great. And my 4-year-old is in love and claimed it as her own immediately, and has a bed full of lovely flower fairies that are just her favorite. So
wow, that is great design as well. Super fun. And did you say the name of that was Crackle?
And that's no Y seams. We avoid Y seams, so that is not put together with Y seams.
No. I also found that you can stretch a Y stream into a pretty straight... if you just pull it hard enough, you might be able to...
You cut it on the right bias, they stretch really well, right?
Right. Well, I don't want to disrupt show and tell, but I do want to touch on one of the questions I was going to ask you, but you started to answer it before we got there, which is, as a brand ambassador, what is that like? And you started to talk about Christmas morning, but you're not sure that that was on your gift registry. And is that a challenge? I mean, how does that grow you as a designer?
So we have a lot of designs in our head,
Yes.
right? But when we design a quilt, we get to hand pick exactly what colors we use, exactly what types, because we do all the design first. I mean, people ask this all the time. It's like, do you find the fabric and design for the fabric, or do you find the fabric after? And we are definitely
find the fabric
after the design is made.
Yeah. We want it to fit the look that we're going for.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely how we've been doing it. So this has really stretched us. Makes you have to think outside the box. So because you're designing for the fabric, which can be really fun sometimes, because then you can kind of bring in some of those elements of the fabric into the design itself. So, and that's not always something that we do based on how we typically design. There have been times where it's like we find these fabrics and it's like, oh, we love this. What do we want to do with this? Like Allison Glass.
We love tone on tone. So the
like the tone on tones, all of her sun prints. It's like we love that. So we do have one pattern. It's called Whirl, that we probably did design
for fabric,
specifically for the fabric, because it's that rainbow gradient where it kind of starts at the top with the blues and the purples and goes down and then ends at the bottom with the blues and the purples. So kind of bringing in that gradient and using those tone on tones is perfect for that, and gives you a really fun rainbow effect. But yeah, it's definitely stretched us, makes you think outside the box, get your creative juices flowing. But it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It is definitely a good challenge, like you said, because it's hard to work sometimes when you're not inspired. If the fabric arrives and it's not your favorite color or not your theme print, it can be challenging. I experience some of the same things here, but I'm blessed because I have Susan, who, also helps put together all of the work with the brand ambassadors. She's always like, hey, what about doing this pattern? Or what about doing that pattern? So, really the way it works at making it fun is the team comes up with all the good ideas and then I just get most of the credit. So I really like the way this is working.
Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic plan.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Just kind of be part of the fun growth, but not have to do any of the actual hard work. And then when it comes down to it, I get to make the samples, and my wife and kids think that is my job, working, and I'm just sitting in here sewing and listening to music and stuff. So
sounds like the perfect job to me.
Oh yeah, that's another good question. Are you ladies music or TV or audiobooks or silence? What's going on in the background?
I think it's a mix. I'm definitely more audiobooks, but I can also, if I find a show that I like, I would just binge it while I'm sewing a quilt all day long on Saturday and forget the rest of the world exists. But
I'm more silent. I have 4 children. 3 of them are very loud. So really, anytime I can just have no noise, I'm all about that. And also, if I was to start a book or something, I'm interrupted quite regularly when I'm working. So it'd be constant pausing. So I take the opportunity to just have no noise, listen to the hum of the machine, and just enjoy the little bit of quiet while I'm working.
I used to be a really loudmouth, kind of always had to have a lot of action going around me as well. I started wearing the earbuds, and obviously it worked good for these kinds of interviews and things as well, but some of these actually really are pretty good at noise canceling and stuff. And so I find myself wandering around with them in my head with nothing going, but everything is just a lot quieter in the world that way.
So I see earphones all the time.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so my parents just built this new house, and my mom kindly calls me her basement dweller, because I sold my house in Phoenix and moved in with them, and I'm in the process of eventually building my own house. I'm still waiting for the plans with the architect. Everything's backed up like crazy. But so I've been helping a lot here, and I have learned that I do not want to work construction for my life, but I have installed sheetrock in the cold storage room, and the noise canceling headphone things that my dad wears when it's the big drilling into sheetrock, those are really cool. And there are days when I might just want to put them on and just leave them all day long.
It was one of the things that I really found immediately eerie, but also really cool the first few days that we were all in lockdown when COVID started out almost a year ago. Like I went, I walk my little dog outside all the time, but there was no cars on the road one day. And we lived just close enough to the road that you could hear the cars until there weren't cars on the road. And all of a sudden it was just really weird quiet. And that's when I got really into having quiet, helping my brain kind of process some of those things and stuff. So it's wild. We were talking a little bit about working within the surprise effect of what comes out of the box. How was the surprise of receiving Susan's email of acceptance? What was that like to go through the process? Can you talk a little bit about like being brave enough to apply to be an ambassador and then what happened from there?
Well, there's definitely been a few moments throughout the last, how long have we been doing this? 8 years.
8 years.
Like we started real kind of slow, and then like the first big one was when we had our first magazine pattern accepted into a magazine. Like that was like this breakthrough. Hey, we can actually do this. And there was definitely happy dances going on, and really definitely with the Michael Miller when we got that was definitely another happy dance. It's reassuring, like we talked about. We're going to fake it till we make it type of a thing, and it's reassuring when you're faking it to have that feedback that you're like, oh, maybe I can actually make it here, and to have that support. And so.
It's like, I'm real.
There were happy dances and phone calls and texts. Did you see the email? We got it, we got it. So some celebrations went on that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did one of you have more confidence than the other? Was there any kicking and screaming, being drug along, or were you both like gung-ho, like we got to do this?
No, I think we kind of drug each other along. Yeah, I think we're kind of to that point.
Strength in numbers?
Yeah, it's like, okay, we're going to do this. It's like we'll come up with crazy ideas and we'll bounce them off each other. And most of those crazy ideas are actually going to turn into something because they're good crazy ideas. But it's just the time with the kids and the full-time job to also make those crazy ideas happen. But yeah, we like to... We don't do simple, I guess. We don't do easy is a good way of putting it. My mom always gave me a hard time when we really first started quilting because my first introduction to foundation paper piecing, I found this 3D poinsettia quilt, and I just thought it was really fun, but it was like a throw size, and I'm like, but I don't want a throw size quilt. So my first introduction to it was a queen size quilt for my bed, because that's how you just do it. I'm like, you go big or you go home.
Right.
And she used to tease me, she does like to tease me once in a while that I jump in with 2 feet and then learn how to swim afterwards.
We had talked about doing the Michael Miller brand ambassador. It had been a couple years, but we hadn't really, we didn't have a blog, and that was one of the things that was there you had to put, and you had to have your blog going. So we talked about it and said, but then this time, we had our blog solid, like we've been doing it for a couple years now, and we just felt like, it's time.
It's ready.
It's time. We're ready. Let's go for it.
Well, I'll definitely say you're an incredible asset to the team. We love having the ambassadors, and we try to pick different folks from, different countries, different walks of life, different sewing skill sets, different eye image, different feels for color and all of it, so that the ambassador program is to offer inspiration for all of our audience out there. But you are right. It's really important to have a solid social media presence, because this is how we network and this is how we share our ideas. And especially this year where we're still doing so much virtually, I wish I was popping out of one of those awesome turquoise doors with you. By the way, that's the same color as my front door. That's why that was so fun to see.
It's the same color as our front door.
Yes. And, so I wish I was there with you and we were having fun and sewing a project or something like that together, but at least we still can do this. But then it also becomes fun, because then the people out there get to know all of the ambassadors a little bit better, and we get to learn from each other and get to be inspired by each other. So, again, really, really blessed to have you on the team, and your work is incredible. Did I cut you off in the middle of show and tell earlier?
One more project.
I thought I might have been cutting you off in show and tell. Can we see?
And this is actually a really good one to the design for the fabric.
Yeah.
So this one, when we got this, so this actually was one of our top picks. Kimie's got
my third child.
Yeah, her youngest son. He's kind of our mad scientist. he likes science, he likes that type of thing. He has plans of taking snake venom and curing all the ills of the world when he gets older. So he is really kind of, we've done some things that are like more sciencey. So when we got this fabric and we actually got that pick, we were super excited because it's all about the science kids. So we are...
Oh, fun.
Here we're gonna...
Now this collection's called STEM Squad. Oh, I love the hazmat.
My favorite thing is it comes with a pink too. We didn't get any of the pink to work with, but like my youngest, my 4-year-old, like you ask her, she's going to be a scientist too. So I love that they didn't exclude our pink loving scientists.
Oh yeah, we've got science for boys and girls if we still have color family genders out there. Oh, that was great. Nice. Oh, these are awesome. I love it.
But they're going to be pillows. They've got a couple more borders
We're
that
not
need
quite
to
done.
be added to them and then quilted up and everything. And they've turned out really fun. This fabric is just, it's
love
just
it.
cute. It's just really fun.
Now, I know you said that these projects are going to become pillows, but I've also noticed you're using a bunch of white or solid white stark around. Is there something scientific about that color choice you're making there?
Well, I think the white, giving it that break, it's really more of a design thing than science. But science and design definitely intermingle, right? So in design, like you need to have negative space or to let your eye rest, right? You want to have something where not a lot is going on. Otherwise, it's hard to focus on one thing. So we like to include kind of that white to give your eye that little spot to rest. And we're not done. We're going to add some more borders. So there's going to be a little bit more going on there. But yeah, just to have that little bit of a break defines the different areas. It really helps the fabric to stand out and not to get kind of mushed up and blend into each other. So it really defines those a little bit more.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was kind of hoping that would be your answer. I don't know, I put you on the spot there. Now, do you always use white or do you ever use other colors?
We use a lot of white.
We're trying to branch out a little bit this year. We have some
Cream? Maybe go with like an off-white or an eggshell?
one coming
We
up,
do.
yellow background.
Well, I told her, it's like, here's what we're going through, because we've used gray a few times too, like a light gray. It's still kind of within our repertoire of white.
Right.
But we're kind of playing with some layouts of a couple of these ones with the next,
Who's our guest?
one of our nieces. So she lives here with me with grandma, and she has a fascination with cameras. She is 4.
Great. All right, see ya. Thanks for coming.
Grandma's trying to keep them entertained. But yeah, when she sent over different color variations that we were playing with for this next fabric grouping, and some of them were gray, and then she had this yellow. I'm like, do it. I'm like, let's go for the yellow. It's different. It's something we've never done. We're gonna really just completely out of our norm, and I think it's gonna be so much fun. I'm so excited for it.
Oh, fantastic.
It's actually already claimed the quilt.
Oh, got it. Okay, so she heard her quilt being talked about, so she made sure to come in and take ownership right then and there.
So it doesn't get taken by someone else.
Got it. Well, it was interesting though, because I was wondering what you were going to say about the white or white only as that contrast. For a lot of years, the way I kind of got in with Michael Miller Fabrics is I was part of the assembly crew for the booth. I was designing quilts, and if you want your quilt hung in the booth just right, you build the booth so you can put your quilt in the booth just right. It's one of my tricks, right? But that was one of Kathy Miller's 100% specific rules. We had bright white walls and bright white carpet because it allowed the energy of the colors to speak their loudest, was her, I think that's almost how she said it. And so even on my set, I use a black ironing board or a white ironing board, and there are jet black and our bright white, because I am using my ironing board for actually auditioning what is that negative space. So as you gals said, you use a lot of white. I often use a lot of black as my resting place or my negative space, or that color that then it puts the rest of the color back where it belongs, which is in those solids or prints that are throughout the rest of the quilt. So yeah, it's a neat trick. Now, and I kind of associate that with modern quilting a little bit as well. Am I missing it, or do you agree?
Completely agree. Yeah.
I know a lot of people are still kind of scared to use white because, well, doesn't it get dirty? But luckily it washes. So, I mean, if we're making a quilt specifically for a child that we know is maybe going to get dirtier than some other ones, maybe not quite use as much white, but you know, it all washes. Go for it. It's fun. So we still like to use white.
We were kind of joking a couple of weeks ago. We had a bunch of our quilts and we were out taking pictures of the ostrich one too. And we were taking some pictures of some of the other ones. And we're like, you know, if there were other quilters, especially some of more of those traditional quilters out here watching us take pictures, they would probably be freaking out because we lift it up, we take a picture, and then we set it
drag it
on
off
the
to the side
ground, and then we're throwing it over rocks, and we're throwing it over
trees and bridges
and branches and stuff to take these pictures, and then we come home and we just throw it all in the wash.
Yeah.
That's what they're made for. They're made to be used. They're made to be loved, and so they need to be washed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Although I try not to soil other folks' quilts as much as I soil my own. I think maybe we could put that little disclaimer in there. But yeah,
we don't throw anybody else's quilts to the ground.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man. And yeah, getting those pictures, especially when you're using white, can be a little challenging too, right? Because of the color balance and stuff. But when you first mentioned that you're concerned that white gets dirty, one of the things I would love to point out in case folks hadn't figured this out, white is also super fun to quilt on because you can add all kinds of colors of thread. And that just does a whole new thing for the projects, at least in my opinion.
Well, and that's her favorite part. So
Which one of you is the quilter?
She is the quilter. She loves that nebulous space. She keeps telling me, she's like, it's just like drawing, but you get to draw on fabric and everything. I'm like, and then I remind them, you guys laugh at my stick people, and that's why I have her. So she does the draw. She draws everything for me, and then I applique and I sew it together, and then I quilted them. Makes it all fancy with the quilting.
And are you doing like domestic seated style machine quilting or long arming or a bit of both? How do you?
We splurged and got a long arm a few years back, and I won't look back. That was kind of like
game changer.
The jams, like where things getting caught up, and it was like the quilting on the domestic was just taking, because I'm not very good at doing an all over, like everything's usually custom. So we would always be backlogged by how quickly I could quilt stuff. So when we broke down and finally bought the long arm, and luckily my husband loves me a lot because it is ginormous
and heavy,
and he's moved it up and downstairs in houses, and he loves me a lot.
A lot.
It just really made it so we could finish things a lot quicker and could do a little bit more. So it's been a nice addition.
Yeah, I'm just learning how to use the long arm myself right now, and I'm still a little intimidated by it, but boy, the amount of work I can get done in the shorter period of time while standing there, and then not be able to walk away and have my body not hurt and feel like walking right back. You know, there's a lot of advantages to having the right tool for the job, and as professionals that, I mean, I guess, and I hope it doesn't sound like I'm whining too much, but one of the things that is challenging for me is the amount of creating and the amount of content we need to put out in a year to make sure we're fulfilling some of the obligations. A lot of the folks that everybody gets to see on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all that, they're pattern designers and authors and traveling educators. They have, like you said, families and other jobs, and a lot of it, there's a lot going on. So we wear so many hats that sometimes, you know, one of the best things we can sometimes say is, no, I can't do that right now. So I can focus on what I am doing right now. And you know, so that's one of the things. So it is interesting to hear both of you working as a team, but also working, you know, outside of the home, working together, working as a stay-at-home mom, all of the different components that come together. Are any of your other family members involved in the business with you, or is it just the two of you?
Recently, my mom and sister have been recruited to be pattern folders.
Yeah.
There's
Pattern folders, yes, those are good jobs.
sometimes where they'll sit down and at the table gets filled up and everyone's recruited to help fold
and stuff.
I've got, you know, my kids that are learning to ship and package kits and things. So we've definitely recruited, but as far as the like actual business right now, it's just the two of us. But I mean, I can imagine, like, you see those designers who are doing it by themselves. And I can imagine trying to do that. Like, I'm so lucky to have, you know, a sister that's as passionate about this as I am, because we really play to each other's strengths.
Yeah.
Like, she has things that she's really good at that like I would probably fail at miserably if I tried to do them, and I have things that I'm really good at that she doesn't know how to do. So it's a kind of a really amazing symbiotic relationship here, and I'm glad I have that person to do it when we have those days where, like you said, there's so many hats and it's like, I'm just gonna quit, this is ridiculous, I can't do it all, and then she's there to pick up the slack and vice versa. So.
But then we also just, with our family, been extremely supportive. It's like they are there to help cheer us on. It's like our mom's by far our greatest cheerleader, and she really tries to do that with all of our girls. But yeah, she's there. She is very willing to sit down and fold patterns every night if that's what we need her to do. And she's
watch the 4-year-old
children or anything else that we kind of throw her. Give up part of her brand new studio. I mean, I've taken over almost half of her new studio for now, and she's just been so good about just giving it. So she doesn't really have her painting space right now. She does have her sewing machine set up, but yeah, we definitely have very supportive family behind us.
Yeah, my mom was the one who got me involved in the quilting world, and whenever I need help, I call her and I'm like, you started this, you finish it with me. And I think that's probably what's going on too. You gals credited Mom a couple of times for being your inspiration, and it's really nice to see that she's, back there to help support when you need and offer some space and keep the dream alive. And I just want to say, the joy that you are expressing is really showing in your work. And so whatever you've got going on, just keep doing it, because it's really fun for us to get to watch it and see you grow and see the work you're putting out. It is really inspiring. So thank you for what you're doing out there.
Thank you. This is what we love. It's like, we could talk quilting all day long.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll just keep going and going and going, and people just have to tell us to shut up.
You should do a 24-hour interview. This is good. Yeah. Or maybe 12 hours. You said all day, maybe not all day and night, but.
If it's 24-hour.
I'm almost ready for another caffeine myself. Are you gals caffeine junkies like I am?
No.
I'm a water girl.
You're water?
Water. Sometimes I throw a little bit of protein powder in there to flavor my water, and that's probably about it.
If I drink Coke after like 3 o'clock, I'm not going to bed that night. So I have to keep it all to like the morning hours so that the caffeine's out of my system so I can sleep.
I'm coffee, no sugar. So that's my thing. I never got into the soda. Well, that's not true. I was into sodas for a long time when I was in the restaurant business, because it was just, the fountain drink. You could just keep filling it up. Yeah. But now, no, the new one is coffee, just good old black coffee, loving it. And now that I've said it, I got to go start the pot pretty soon. But before I can let you gals off the hook, we have the mystery questions. So I hope you're ready for a real challenge here, because what we did years ago is we built up this box of mystery questions. And we are down to just a few cards, because all of these ones have been asked already. And so I've been slowly curating them and putting them aside so that folks do not hear too many of the repeat questions. So I can now tell we have 5 cards left. I think what would be really fun, as we're starting to kind of wrap up this interview series, there are 3 of us on camera today. So I say what we're going to do is we're going to let Missy pick her first number, 1 through 5, and then she'll answer that question. So, okay, Missy, 1 through 5, please.
I'm going to go right in the center and pick 3.
Okay, I'm just going to dig right for it. Number 3. And I'm going to ask your question first, and then we'll just kind of keep going. Here we go. So this is your big mystery question. Oh, I like this one too, by the way. If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. Only one? Speed. Because if I can get more stuff done, then it leaves more time for sewing.
That's a good choice. That's a really good choice. Speed, so she can get more done, more time for sewing. Okay, I'm sorting them up. I'm mixing them around in case you were peeking there, Kimie. Okay, Kimie, what is your number, please?
To cheat.
I like to win. Yeah. 4.
Number 4. Okay, so I'm counting here, and so over here just to 4. Oh, another good question. Okay, this is food related. Do you prefer sweet or savory?
Yes.
Perfect answer. At the same time, I assume.
I have 2 addictions, and they are dark chocolate and potato chips.
salt and vinegar or dill
Plain.
pickle potato
I
chips.
love dill pickle potato chips.
We love them. The rest of our family thinks that we are completely insane and they hate them.
So, yeah, like as far as sugary sweets, like, no, I'd rather have like fruit, but my dark chocolate, when it comes to like, I need dark chocolate regularly to sustain me.
And an IV, like a dark chocolate fountain going kind of thing.
And then my potato chips, and I'm good.
Okay, well, I said there was 3 of us. We got 3 cards left. This question will be for me, unfortunately. So here we go. Will one of you please pick a number between 1 and 3?
1.
Okay. 1. I always get so nervous. Here we go. Oh, I should be able to do this one. But this is going to be hard. Favorite Star Wars character? You ladies want to weigh on this before I say mine?
Well, we know which one's the big one in her house.
Well, no, my husband thinks that the rebels are traitors. And no, not terrorists.
Yes.
He's all about the Sith, right?
He has the Imperial symbol on the hood of his car.
He does. So my favorite would probably have to be R2-D2. Because, man, that guy is like so helpful.
Resilient.
Right? Like, he just keeps going and he knows how to do everything. So if I could have like a Star Wars character to live with me, I would get myself an R2-D2, definitely.
Now, did you know that according to Mr. Lucas himself, R2-D2 is actually the star of the entire movie series? It was on one of the bonus discs I saw, and yeah, 3PO and R2 are in every single movie. One, if not just a cameo in the background, the whole thing was about these 2 robots, but everybody said, no one's going to want to watch a robot movie. It's got to be a love story.
It is, between C-3PO and R2-D2.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Absolutely. Okay, do you also have a favorite Star Wars character?
I don't.
You don't?
I'll watch Star Wars. I like Star Wars, but I like the old Star Wars. I like the original best. I have a little bit of a, not a love-hate relationship because I just can't stand him at all with Jar Jar Binks. So anything with him on just kind of, it makes me cringe. So I'm going to stick with the old ones. Back when Harrison Ford still looked good.
Right. You're going Han Solo as your favorite Star Wars character. You can do without the entire gang. You'll just have Han Solo, please. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going with mine. And I don't feel like I should have to preface this, but I was, again, from the original. I really enjoyed those. I was the 5-year-old boy standing in line for 3 hours, outside of the theater when it first played. Boba Fett, but here's why. As a youngster collecting action figures, you couldn't buy Boba Fett. You had to earn Boba Fett, right? And so for those of you who don't really follow Star Wars, but you happen to have Disney Plus, Boba Fett became the concept of the Mandalorian. And there is, well, I don't want to say too much, but the armor that Boba Fett wears is Mandalorian armor. So anyways, I love the armor. I love the look. I love the stormtroopers too because I like the way they looked. But therefore, Boba Fett was just better. You know what I mean? Like, he was just better. I even have a boxed, sealed version that you had to send away of the prototype Boba Fett, the all-white version, where they actually were playing with colors and stuff. So yeah, Boba Fett is but only for the reason that he was just so neat looking. I like so many of the characters, but Boba Fett is always my go-to.
One of her boys. Yeah, one of her boys. That's what he likes is...
Yeah, is that like 4 and 5-year-old. He knew the difference between Boba Fett and Jango Fett and the exact color. And like, don't mix them up. He was very much like, no.
So he actually has a Boba Fett quilt that I created for him when he was little. And all it is like the giant...
The torso
head of Boba Fett. And it was a pain in the butt to make.
Yeah, I know a designer that's actually done full patchwork of a bunch of the characters. Maybe some of you have seen it out there with the original, Luke and Chewie and Princess Leia with the buns and the whole thing. Super great.
Fun.
What a wonderful way to end a Making It Fun quilt interview. Too bad it's not posting on May the 4th. That would have been the perfect time to have.
And it's my birthday. You should totally make it happen on May the 4th.
Yes.
It was my birthday before it was May the 4th for everyone else, though. Just want to point that out.
You got it. I love it. Well, then I'm going to sign off today with a huge thank you to Kimie and Missy from On Williams Street. What a fabulous group of designers and talented ladies. Great interview. Thank you both for being here. I so appreciate it. And May the 4th be with you. All out there. Everybody, please follow along. All of their links for their social media is below. Ladies, why don't you sign us off with a wave or a word of inspiration or something? I'm going to give the camera back to you.
All right, I think we just have to end it the way we end everything.
Mm-hmm.
Happy
Happy
quilting.
quilting.
Wow, you are still there. Thanks for sticking with me till the end of the video. I know, I get a little long-winded sometimes. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you check out a few of the other ones we've created. I think they're terrific. And of course, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the little bell to be notified. I don't want you to miss a moment of the fun. Stay safe and happy sewing.